Hey,
Hey,
all sorted.
all
Perfect.
sorted. Well, technology and me have got a love-hate relationship. So at the
Oh,
moment, thoughts. At the
oh,
moment, it's
there we
love.
go.
But yeah,
Yeah,
that
I'm,
bit
I'm
was hate.
very close behind you.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, but
Um,
I'm a few
what I'm
years.
gonna, what I'm gonna do, Lynn, I'm gonna do a little welcome, just a brief kind
Yeah,
of, I don't know, synopsis. It's a long
yeah.
time since I've been at school, so yeah, just a brief, and then what we'll do, we just chat about it, and obviously you can add in something you want, and then I'll kind of embellish into the questions or discussions, and we can
Mm.
go from there.
Yeah, that's cool, man. No problem.
There's Stu the Vickers just joined on. You know Stu, didn't you?
Hey, Stu, you all right, mate?
So I don't know if
Oh,
the
you must have half hour spare in your day, man, if you can join us. So that's nice of you.
at least he gave a little thumbs up on my one there.
Yeah, yeah, no, no worries. Good to see that you're watching us, Stu.
Yeah. The numbers are just going up. So
Okay,
obviously it's back, just gone one. So what
yeah,
I'll do, I'll give it kind of like a 30 seconds to.
yeah.
And just jumps
Anthony's
on.
in.
You see,
Anthony.
can
Yeah,
you
I can
see it
see
from
him
your
popping.
end at the bottom?
Yeah, he's giving me the old love eyes as well. Thanks, Anthony.
I can tell this is going to be funny anyway already.
Oh, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. We'll see what questions fly my way. See what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. Dodge a few
All right.
bullets.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna have to dodge them, man.
Right.
Mate, the sun's come out now, finally.
Oh, perfect timing.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah, definitely.
Right. Welcome, guys. Thanks for logging on. We are fortunate enough to say Linvoy Primus MBE today.
We
And,
forgot about the MBE. Thanks.
yeah, you can't forget about that, mate. Uh, First of all, thank you for joining us, Lynn.
No worries, man.
And
No worries
obviously,
at all.
thank you from all the kids that are logging on as well, and mums and dads
Yeah,
and family. So thank you very much. So first of all, viewers, I'm just going to say a brief summary of a little bit about Linvoys. It's a long story, so I'll try to keep it as quick as possible. Just for the younger members who obviously we've got some like 3, 4, 5-year-olds that wouldn't have been around when you were playing. Uh,
definitely.
so we're just going to say a bit for them. So Linvoy, am I right in you saying that you played close to 500 professional appearances?
That's right. Yep.
Um, Started at Charlton as a youth team player,
Yep.
and then spent 3 years there as a you got your first pro contract at Charlton
Yeah. Yeah.
before moving on to for 3 years. Oh, just cut it. Ready for
Yeah.
three
Yeah.
years, and then the majority of your career was at Portsmouth.
That's right. Yeah. 10 years with Portsmouth.
And would I be right in saying that during Linvoy's very successful football career, you also were heavily involved in charity work, in which you still are to this day, which led to an MBE for your services to football and charity.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, I just felt, latter stages of my career, I wanted to give something back, and I always believed that when I was a kid, I always had this thought that if I ever made it in football, I'd come back to Stratford because that's where I was born, Stratford, East London, and do work with young people to give them an opportunity to push on in life, whatever that would look like. But unfortunately, I didn't make it back to Stratford, so I ended up starting a charity in Portsmouth called Faith and Football, and from then I've been able to support other charities as well. So yeah, a big part of my latter part of my career, that charity work became important part of my life.
Perfect, perfect. So I'm just going to obviously we've got a lot of football academy thing members and kids here, so we're just going to I'm going to start from right at the beginning. So I'm going to say like,
Yeah,
what's your first memories of football? I'm talking really young, and what
young age.
attracted
Yeah,
to you to it originally?
yeah. I suppose I was a sporty kid anyway. I lived in a high-rise block of flats, so I lived on the 17th floor. So being cooped up for days, not like we are at the moment in terms of this lockdown, but being cooped up for days, I had all this energy that I wanted to get rid of. So any activity that I could do, that was it, like whether it's at school or whether it's a youth club or whatever it was, I'd be, you know, involved in most sports. But I think when I really started to think about football a lot, when I was probably about 8. So I've been knocking about with my friends, kicking around, nothing serious. But when I was about 8, I watched the cup final between Tottenham and Man City,
Oh,
and yeah, one of the, I think it was a replay, and one of the Tottenham players, a guy called Ricky Villa, scored a great goal, ran past about 4 or 5 players in the edge of the box and slotted it home. And I'll never forget the crowd, but just what he'd done, I just thought, wow, if he can do that, so can I. Literally, that was my thought. And then
even
I
then,
never.
you had that confidence that, in the belief in yourself.
It was, but I didn't know you could get paid to play football. You know, I didn't know there was a pathway to becoming a professional footballer. So all I wanted to do was just play football with my friends, hopefully play for a team, and just see what happens. And I never started playing organised football till I was about 12, and that's for a little Sunday team in Pretoria, called Pretoria, based in Canning Town. Didn't start playing organised football till then. So, you know, even then it was all about playing with my friends and enjoying it. And we weren't a very good team. You know, we used to get beat quite heavily. But I always had this, once I started that, playing with that team, I always thought, I wonder if I can go on again. I wonder if I can get into we used to call them at the time Centre of Excellence. So
Yeah.
it was, you know, you train twice a week with a professional club and hopefully get picked for a game on Saturday or Sunday. And it was always that, I wonder if I can do it. And some of my teammates got scouted for, I think, for Tottenham and West Ham. And that drove me even more to really wanting to have that opportunity. And that came when I was 14. So my early memories of sport were just getting involved in everything what I could. But once I started to play organised football, that's when the dream became a little bit of reality, that there was a little pathway I could see to play in for a professional team. Didn't know who it would be, because in London
Yeah.
there's plenty of
Yeah.
teams to choose, isn't there? But you know, what I realised was that scouts, when the scouts came to watch you, you never knew that who was there or when they would come, and so you always had to play well. So
Yeah.
yeah, so from a young age, knew that I wanted to be involved in sport, but football came alive for me when I was 12.
But that's great, Lynn, because that's a brilliant start, because you summed up about 4 of our questions there. So literally, great minds think alike.
There you
Um,
go. I'm thinking I'm in your head at the moment.
yeah, no, you're in the zone there. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Invaluable insight there, kids. Into
Mm,
I took away there that he knew them scouts could turn up at any moment, so that almost inbred a consistency that he played every week to the best of his
mm,
ability, which was linked to the fact that he didn't know that he could play for money.
mm.
It was all about the love of the game and being a competitor and wanting to do the best he could do. And
Yeah,
seeing them other friends doing well, it spurred him on even more so. So from what I'm hearing, is it gave a real inner hunger to achieve without even knowing it.
yeah, definitely. Because I think, you know, if you want to get up and do something you love every day, you've got to be passionate about it. So the passion's got to be there, but you know, the dedication as well, even from a young age. And I'm not saying, you know, that's got to be your only focus, but you know, I've been a believer that if you're going to do something, if you're going to try something, do it to the best of your ability. You never know where it can take you, and that's what I was like in football. Just gave it my best every opportunity.
100%. So in them younger years, so roughly around the same kind of time, double barrel question here. So
Mm.
was there any other? Obviously, you settled at centre back. Was there any other positions that you kind of went to and from during them younger years, which maybe do you agree that helped form the player that you become at centre back? And also, what other sports did you do? Because I'm a big believer that playing other sports really helps
Helps.
develop
Yeah.
different kind of skills. So can you ask them two
Okay.
kind of
Yeah, of course I can. Yeah. So I think I'll start with the second one first, because, like I said, I was an active kid anyway. If there was an opportunity to do any sport, I would try it. But I remember my cousin, older cousin, probably about 10 years older than me. used to play badminton, and he used to get me to come along. And now I don't remember ever being very good at it. I remember joining in and him helping me and stuff. So that was real a good thing because it allowed me to have more agility. Getting down fitness was good because when you play, a racket sport, the fitness that you need for that is different to what you need in football, positionally
Yeah.
anyway. So it's like dynamic stuff, moving forward, bending down low, and things like that. So that really helped in some way. Not that I knew it at the time because I was just doing it for fun. Playing table tennis, playing pool, things that football was my main focus, but those other things gave me enjoyment as well because it
Yeah.
wasn't. It was like I still wanted to win, I still wanted to do well. So I'd say I'd done general sports anyway, even though football was my main thing. I'd done general sports, athletics, and things like that. In terms of position, I used to for my Sunday team, I'd either play left back, and if anybody knows me, my left foot is only used for standing on normally. So to play left back was a real challenge, but the manager just wanted me to experience trying to play a different way in a different position on a weaker side. So it was
Brilliant.
difficult. I had to learn very quickly, but it was difficult. But I overcame that, and then I'd move further forward because I was quite quick. So I wasn't technically gifted. I wasn't blessed with unbelievable skills like Messi or Raheem Sterling or anything like that. I wasn't in that, but I had the ability to beat people and put a cross in. So I played further forward on the wing as well. But when I moved to a more defensive position where I knew that's where I wanted to be, it wasn't until I was about 18.
Wow.
And
Wow.
yeah, and that's when the coach said to me, I think you'd be, because I was playing across the midfield as well at that point. He just said to me, I think you'd be better as a centre half with the game in front of you, or full back. And that's when I made the decision to make that my position, centre half or right side.
The kids, great words. How kind of Linvoy oversaw kind of adversity there, and challenge. He was challenged with using his weaker foot there. That's something that we all admittedly don't naturally want to do. But it helps him form the player he become in the different positions where, again, we all come across it. You might be a centre forward you want to be, but someone's asked you to play a defence. Always look at things positively. That actually the bigger picture is Linvoy made it to the top of the game. The Premier League is the best league in the world, and he did all these things, and they probably agreed it helps him become the player
Oh,
he can.
yeah, yeah. The thing is, sometimes in a match, sometimes things go against you. Referee makes a wrong decision, or a player, your opponent does something that's wrong but gets away with it. And sometimes there's challenges during a game, and you've got two decisions to make really at that point. Am I going to sulk and have the and because the referee got it wrong and blame the referee, or can I do the best I possibly can in the situation to turn it round? And sometimes the thing about sport, football specifically, is that a lot of the times in games things just don't fall the way you hope, but it's up to you to change that. The best players in the world, they're always practicing, always trying to better themselves, and always trying to do the better things. But in games, you'll find that even though you might see one bit of magic in a game, they've probably had 10 or 11 moments where they've been kicked hard, tackled hard, give a pass away, and everything like that. But the good players and the better players are able to block out all the negatives and focus on the good things that they can do. And so when asked to play in a different position, it could be a negative. You might see it as a negative, but actually you could be benefiting yourself by learning a new place and understanding a new position on the pitch.
Brilliant, brilliant. Invaluable words, guys. I hope you're listening. The people who just joined us, we are fortunate enough to have Linvoy Primus MBE on. Linvoy made it to the top of the game in the Premier League and worked his socks off to get there. I'm hearing this already, so make sure you're listening, guys. So my question for you really is also something that I felt as well. Looking back on your grassroots team before you then joined the professional academy, etc. I'm sure you played with some brilliant talents in them leagues. Some maybe went on to make it, some maybe didn't. I particularly know some players that were I class as a hell of a lot better than me. What qualities at that stage do you feel that you had that they helped you progress further, and do you feel you had to make any sacrifices to get where I don't know where you got? So I suppose.
Question. I suppose definitely had to make sacrifices. Did I do it all the time? No. I made were some friendships. Just that I knew that if I was going to continue in the path on this pathway in professional sport from a young age, so 13, 14 years old, twice a week would actually, it was optional, you know, you didn't have to go, but I knew that by going, I'd be getting better coaching, better understanding of the game and things like that. So to go to train twice, my parents didn't take me because my parents were working. I used to get a bus from my house through to the Woolwich Tunnel, and the tunnel through to the other side to Charlton, and I used to do that twice a week plus go on a Saturday. So there was dedication. There was knowing that my friendships could suffer and would suffer for it. But I just focused that I really wanted it, and I wasn't going to let things get in the way to stop that. So I had to make those sacrifices then as well. I forgot your first question. Would you ask? Did you remind me of the first question? So you're
covering great things there. That obviously you'd already set goals for yourself on things that you wanted to achieve, so you actually could measure what you wanted to do. So that was part of the question. But I'm saying, are you back now? Hello, mate.
Or lost you for a minute, Mark.
I've got you. Cool.
Yeah,
I was just saying, you asked a lot of
now.
great questions in there about your focus from when you were young. You were setting goals without even realising it, and you weren't going to because you were setting goals, they were measurable and you could see them, and you weren't going to let anything distract you from them goals. So maybe the first part of the question was that was there anything different qualities that you had to these players that may have been more talented than you, that they did make it, but you kind of answered a few things there already that they may not have had.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is, if you ever make it in football, you'll realise that the game is about people. The game is about people's opinions, and you can watch a match, and half the crowd might say he played well, and half the crowd might say he never played well. And what I started to understand, and you don't realise it until you get right into it, if you're in the game a few years, what I started to understand was, whenever you walk off that pitch, never walk off with, could I have given anything more? And I think there was lots, like you said, Mark, there was lots of players I knew who ability-wise were far better than me, and just as dedicated, but what I wanted, which you could never take away, was even if I wasn't going to get paid to play football, I would have played anyway. But that step to go to the next level, I knew that I had to give everything. There was no shortcuts. That I didn't have people in the game who my dad knew who could give me a trial or anything like that. What I knew was if I was going to make it, it had to be down to me. And work ethic and everything like that. And I used to go running on my own. I lived in a high-rise block of flats, so after the run, I'd run about 3 miles and come home. And then I lived on the 17th floor of the block of flats, and I used to run up those steps for extra fitness. And I was doing that on my own without anyone telling me to do it. So those little hidden things, I always say, what you do off the pitch reflects on the pitch, you know, good, bad and ugly. And I'm sure those runs I was doing, even if I didn't want to do them, it's a hard day after school and a hard day at school and all that, but I still would go for that run, and I'd still finish that run by running up 17 flights of stairs.
Brilliant, brilliant. And this is, guys, this is coming from someone who made it to the top league, the Premier League. And if you speak to most Premier League players, which Linvoy and myself are fortunate enough to know, they're portrayed a certain way in the media, but these guys would all play for free if money was stripped away, because that hunger, that desire is the number one thing that drives them, really. So coming on to the next question, who was the best player you played against and why? And how did you prepare to play against them?
Good question. Really good question.
That's kind of half question.
Mark, well, I would mention you, Mark. You're the hardest I played against, but we never played against each other, did we? I was too much older than you, so no, I'd say.
And a league above me, mate. A league above me.
Mate, I went through all the divisions, so you know it was. I'm sure we would have crossed paths at some point, but yeah, it's an easy answer really. It was Thierry Henry. You know, he had the ability to beat you with ease, and he never looked like you knew he was a fast player, but when you're on the pitch with him, he's deceptively quick. He had a big stride to get away from you, and then he moved the ball with his feet in such a way that you could, if you thought you could get to it, you'd probably make a foul. He's very good at that. So how did I prepare? Sleepless nights, a few sleepless nights before the day of the game. Lots of video analysis, but the thing was, on Match of the Day or Sky, you could see what he was doing to defenders week in, week out. So you have to be careful not to watch too much that makes you scared, but watch enough to know that if he comes to a certain area, you may need somebody else to help you defend him, to make sure he goes away into a less what do you call it? Dangerous position. Yeah. So he would have been my most difficult. And don't get me wrong, when you saw, he was the sort of guy that he would be quiet for, I don't know, 80 minutes.
That's what you hate about them strikers.
You know that because your guard's down. You think, yeah, got him in my pocket. Next thing you know, he's got a hat trick. So, so you just don't, you just going to take your eyes off him. But it was a pleasure to play against, and I've played against, some other stars as well who've, lit up the Premier League. But he was the one I would say that it didn't matter how well you thought you played against him, he just needed a moment. And sometimes that moment was what he would conjure up himself. So he was definitely the best.
And yeah, that's coming from someone who's played against you kids. You probably know a lot of players still around, like Wayne Rooney, Cristiano Ronaldo. Linvoy's gone toe to toe with the best players in the world. And obviously, there's his words saying about how he prepared, and he wasn't too kind of macho enough to realise in some situations these players are so good that he needed to be of his team, because remember, football's a team sport. It's not just an individual sport, so you may need to get together to cope with these amazing players.
Yeah, and the other thing that's just come to mind as well, sometimes in the game, in matches, sometimes, you have to do, and I call it the dirty work. So that's the tracking back. It's the, man marking someone for a period of time because you might be overrunning a game. The game you might be defending a lot. So sometimes, you're going to be judged on how well you've defended if you're playing midfield rather than how many attacks you've got. And sometimes that defensive hard work gives you the opportunity to take a chance at the other end and go and win the game. So as much glamour and as much all the big noise about playing the game, what you realise if you go on any further in the game is that a lot of matches, a lot of the work you're doing is very tactical. It's not about just running off and dribbling past five players and scoring, or sometimes it's very tactical. And you defend for lots of the game, and all of a sudden you get a breakaway, and you've got to be strong in that finish. So, sometimes the game isn't as pretty as you think it can be because you've got to do a lot of hard work to stop the opponent. So, so if you're prepared to work hard going forward and going back, you'll always have a chance to go on again if you're prepared to put that hard work in.
Brilliant, brilliant. Before we go on to the next question, so I remember seeing a lot of stats on games and different. The statisticians always do different leagues, and everyone thinks that the Premier League is a supported that the Premier League players run harder, run longer, run faster. Of the leagues where people think the lower you go, the less kicking. It's actually the opposite of that. So great words from Linvoy there. I think we're just going to cut out, give it a second to come back. Right, so we're just going to touch on a negative. Cool. So touch on a negative here, and we're going to base it around injuries because it is part and parcel of the game. Obviously, I know that you also have to deal with it. So I'm going to link it to the current situation right now. So injuries are part of the game. How did you stay positive in them really frustrating times? And with them, obviously, that kind of that experience and how did you turn it into positive, and how could we link that for the kids nowadays with this pandemic we're going through?
That's a good question. I'd say early on in my career, I didn't really deal with injuries well because what I found, I was picking up lots of injuries because I was still growing. So from the age of 16 through maybe 15, let's say 16 through to 21, 22, I'd pick up like injuries that would keep me out for 3 or 4 weeks. So the momentum of my season would always be broken with being injured, getting fit again, then getting back in the team. And so there's never consistency. I had a lot of consistency in my first few years of being an apprentice and being pro. So that was really frustrating, and a lot of doubt set in whether I had the ability to, if the body could cope with full-time training. Was I going to lose my place? So in the early days, quite negative. I'd be, worried, anxious about, my footballing future because I hadn't, really made a name for myself. So, so that was hard. But as I got older, I learned to accept that sometimes injuries happen, and what can I do in the meantime to make sure that I can be the best when I come back. So, it was listening to the physio, doing the work. And don't get me wrong, sometimes it'd be a lonely time because, everybody's out on the training pitch, you're in the physio room or the gym, getting yourself fit. So it became a place where myself goals to achieve to make sure that I could, come back strong and fit. So, but there were frustrating times, and it's like now, I guess for a lot of the young people who are, watching this, being indoors and only being able to get out for a certain amount of time in the day must be hard. But some way and somehow, you've got to find other things that can occupy you, because one thing I've realised at an older, near coming to the end of my career, was that I was more than a footballer. And for a lot of you young people that are watching this, football might be the main thing you love, but you've got other gifts and talents, and you can help yourself. It might be drawing, it might be reading, it might be writing, it might be building, or whatever it might be. There are other gifts and talents that you definitely have, and you can use those things in the time of frustration. You can use those things to occupy you, knowing that you've still got your football to do as well. But at this moment in time, it is difficult. It probably feels like for most people that, you know, there's a restraint on them. You know, it's like having an injury, but you have to be patient and try other things, because if you don't, and you only think that football's that the only thing you have in your life, you know, that, you know, football could let you down. So yeah,
Cool.
that's what I'd say
Perfect.
about that.
Perfect. So I've just got to ask, can we still 10 more minutes, if that? We've got
Yeah,
more questions, and then we'll wrap it up, guys.
no problem.
Guys, the original deal was that Linvoy was going to grace us with half an hour, and I'm being a bit cheeky. But
No
we've got a
worries.
couple of beauty questions to go. So obviously the kids are going through a challenge right now, like we just talked about. And throughout their football careers or their journey in life, they're going to come against lots of challenges. And most people know you're a Christian, and that you're. How did your faith help you during playing the game? Did
Yeah.
this bring challenges for yourself, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah. Yeah, Mark, it's interesting. So I'd been going to church as a kid until about 12, when football took over. But church didn't mean nothing to me. It wasn't a place I really wanted to be. I had a few friends there. It wasn't, you know, the most appealing of places, but, you know, there's a few friends there. Every now and again we were allowed to play outside, so that was an opportunity to run about and stuff. And it wasn't until 28 years old that I decided that, you know, even though I'd given football everything, I wasn't happy, I wasn't satisfied, you know, I always felt there was more, and I never quite got there and everything like that. And two friends, we moved to Portsmouth, and two friends invited us to church, and it wasn't the place where I really wanted to be, but we went along, and for the first time I heard a message about Christianity that I'd never heard before. And I'd heard I'd heard about Easter, and I'd heard about Christmas in my past, but I didn't actually know the relevance of it. So after, you know, a couple of more visits to church, I decided that, you know, I wanted to, you know, follow Jesus and what he'd done for me. Realised that he died on the cross for me, and at that point, you know, I didn't think football and religion, football and Christianity could go together. And then 2 years later, I was playing football for the right reasons again. You know, it was because I loved it, I enjoyed it, and what I was able to enjoy through my Christian faith was, I'd always been judged. You know, once you're in the football arena, you're always being judged, good, bad, and ugly. You know, ratings and stuff like that. But when I became a Christian, I realised and started to read that God loved me no matter the score, no matter the result, no matter the performance, and that really helped me to live as a Christian in the world of football, and it allowed me to just see the world in a different perspective, as where the charity work started to come about, and I realised that was a point. I realised that I was more than a footballer, and the game became again, because it started to become unenjoyable because of the things that were going on in it, around it, and how I was personally feeling in terms of the effort I was giving the game, and not feeling that I was getting the rewards. But, you know, later on, a few years on from that, you know, football became the thing I remembered it to be, an enjoyable sport where you really want to do well, compete, win.
Brilliant.
And if you don't win, you just give your all. So, yeah.
Brilliant. So yeah, guys, there'll be challenges. Linvoy found the focus, which made him a lot happier, and obviously helped his football career as well. So last two questions. So I'm going to say a few little bits here. So in your later career, like part of your career, you had a testimonial. For the young guys, testimonials were usually for kind of a 10-year period that you've played at club, but it's a very rare thing nowadays with the transfers. So if you get a testimonial, so it's a great achievement. So you had a testimonial with Portsmouth.
Yeah.
Also took on an ambassadorial and advisory role to help emerging talent at Portsmouth FC.
Yeah.
Had a stand named after you. So one of the stands
Yeah.
at Fratton Park, Portsmouth, was actually named after you, which I
I
didn't know,
know,
which I
man.
was like, oh my lord. That's when
I
I
know. I
felt
still
like,
can't get my head around
that's
that.
when I
Yeah.
found out shit.
I had to keep it quiet from you, mate.
And then in 2015, you were awarded the MBE for service to the football and charity. And a lot of people have asked, what was that day like? Yeah, just your feelings on it,
Yeah.
coming from yourself.
Yeah, it was, you know what, to actually be nominated for it was like such a shock because it you comes from people, uh, someone saying, I think Linvoy deserves this, and then it has to be backed up by lots of people writing letters saying, yeah, he deserves it. And so it's probably about a 3 to 4 year process from the guy who nominated me told me about it afterwards. So it's shocked first and foremost because, you know, wherever you do anything for charity, you're not expecting any accolades or anything like that. You're just doing it to help others. So when the day came round, it was a bit surreal because it was like I'm actually going to. I didn't know who I was going to see. I didn't know if it'd be the Queen or William or Charles, so I didn't know. And as we pulled up to Windsor Castle, like the nerves really hit in, you know, because it was about 8:30 in the morning. We got there, and you know you have to drive where cars don't normally drive, so all that was really special. And then when we got to the like my wife came with me and my parents, and when we parked the car and walked up to where we were greeted in, it was like a movie. I'm thinking to myself, at any moment now, someone's just going to come and say cut, and you know, and the real person's going to walk in, you know, sort of thing. But once I was in there, I was really humbled because you're in a room with about 90 people who have done unbelievable things to serve the country, to serve their community, to overcome. So I actually felt like a bit of a fraud for being there because, and you shouldn't compare yourself to others. It's because it's what you do and when you do it. But I think to myself, oh my days, I'm not going to ask anybody what they've done because it's like what they've done is really, really amazing. And so that excitement, that calm, that nervousness was quite amazing. And then once it actually happened when I was going to receive the MBE, it's really done in a military way to line up into single file, going to one room, going to another room. You go through in groups of 10, 10 to 15, and then when it was coming to my turn, you enter into the room, a room, and he was in an area where your family sit and all the other guests. So you're in a room next to that, and then the door opens, and you can see. I could see where he was, and I'm not joking. It was like every bit of energy got zapped out of me, got taken out of me. I thought I was going to pass out. I honestly thought I was going to faint, and I had to give myself a self-talk. I said to myself, right, Linvoy, you will not faint. Come on, get this together. And as I said it, I could see the paramedics through the other side. So people must faint. And, you know, and I'm like, please don't let it happen. Please. Anyway, I go in.
So people actually do faint.
I know, could just give it the old stack right in front of him, you know. So, but anyway, I walk into the where he is, and I walked to the wrong spot because I was so nervous. And anyway, he introduces himself, and I'm like, yeah, I know who you are. And he said, Linvoy, well done for receiving this, and you know, spoke a little bit about football and stuff. And he'd not too long had his first child. And this is his first formal duty for after paternity leave. So I thought to myself, everybody's going to ask about his children, and I knew he was an Aston Villa fan, and Aston Villa were playing Arsenal in the cup final. So once he said his little bit, I just said final, you know, obviously being a Villa fan, and and we spoke for about 30 seconds regarding that, and I walked off, and afterwards my wife said to me, what did you say to him? Because she said his body language changed. She said up to that point, everyone he spoke to was very formal, but she said when you asked him, whatever you asked him, she said he just relaxed, and it was like two mates talking.
Wow.
And then I told her what I asked, and she said, yeah, I could see. So it was surreal, nerve-wracking, amazing, everything you could think of, because I didn't realise the importance of receiving any form of award like that. I just, you know, you think it's just part of what happens, but actually it's a really important thing. And, you know, I'm honoured to receive it. I don't talk about it. I don't use it on my posts or anything like that, because I just use it as a way of inspiring young people to say, you know what, I grew up in Stratford, East London, lived on the 17th floor of the block of flats, ended up playing professional football, been able to help others and receive this. And I said, if I can do that, and that's being born where people said you're not going to succeed, if I can do that, you know, any one of you young people can do that. So I use it as more of a motivation for young people to say that, you know, this is something that you could achieve and more if you really just give life a go.
Wow, powerful words. Back to starting in football and how he achieved in a professional game just through the love and really an inner drive, and also with the charity work he got rewarded with an MBE, but you do it for the love of it, and then how it makes you feel more than
Yeah.
anything, and then obviously speaking with a royal face to face, and actually a royal is just a normal bloke who again can relax and talk about football, the beauty of the game,
Oh, yeah.
fun together. So
Yeah.
amazing,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
And so because we pushed over, it's the last question now, Lynn.
No worries.
So last thing, so from all your experience in life, football, obviously me, the roles and stuff like that, from your experiences, do you have any tips or recommendations for children at 6occer Academy that they can achieve whatever they dream about in football and life? And I use the word dream because I think as we get older, we get a little bit embarrassed to say words like dreams and stuff like that. But I remember, particularly when I was a kid, that I used to have dreams about holding the World Cup up and stuff like that. So I'm not embarrassed to use the word dream. And I encourage you kids to dream about things and be big thinkers. So back to the
Yeah.
question. Our final question from Linvoy. What would you recommend to kids at 6occer Academy?
Yeah. Well, I agree with you with dreams. I really believe that you do need to set yourself dreams or ambition or goals that, you know, you can strive towards. I was like you, Mark. I used to dream about football. I used to dream that I'd have a kit. You know, to have a kit, any form of kit, as a young kid back in the day, man, that was big. You know, I know you
Yeah,
can get them
yeah,
quite,
yeah.
you know, quite readily now, but that was big. And so to get the kit was something special. But I think the moment for me uh, of dream becoming reality was when I was about 14 or 15. My parents took me to the Wembley, but the old Wembley, and we done a tour. And, you know, you were with a group of other people, and remember, I only became interested in football because I watched the cup final. In terms of thinking I can go on and achieve not achieve, but become a professional. So watching that game. So when we done the tour, there's a bit on it where you can walk up the steps and you hold a fake FA Cup. And I remember walking across the steps, walking up the steps, walking across the balcony, the FA Cup being in the middle. And I turned around, my parents stayed down, and I held it up and I showed them, and, you know, let them see me with it, and then came back down. And I said to my parents, you know, one day I am going to hold the real FA Cup. And, you know, Pompey got to the cup final in 2008 and won it. I didn't play. I was injured, and I was coming back from injury. I didn't play. but the manager at the time, Harry Redknapp, allowed every player in the whole entire squad, so there's about 30 players, to go up and hold the FA Cup. And I went up. I was, near the end. There's about 3 others behind me, and I lifted that FA Cup and I held it over towards my parents where I thought they might have been sitting. And I got a cheer from all the Pompey fans because I'd been involved in big moments anyway. But that moment there was me saying, as a 13, 14-year-old, that I will hold the real FA Cup one day. And, it went on many years later, but it actually happened. So keep dreaming, keep believing. It does take hard work. There's no shortcuts. There's no shortcuts. And believe me, there's going to be more downs and ups in the world of football, whether you're in the, Mark's academy, or you go on to, professional, play professional football. There'll be lots of downs. And it's not how lots of downs and ups. It's not how you take the ups and just focus on that. Is how you deal with those harder moments. And it's about being as level-headed as you possibly can in the game, because, like I say, the game can be great and it can be awful at times, but it's how your attitude gets you through the good and the bad times that's going to be a real benefit.
Cool, perfect, great words, Linvoy. And just to wrap up, can we just put some thank yous in the comment section for Linvoy, because we're going to wrap it up now. Thank you from myself.
No, sorry about that. I'm just pleased that I've got Instagram going, because I don't do Instagram. So if you say, well, getting the Insta going, I'll be pleased with that. But no, honestly, I don't expect anyone to say thank you in terms of, I know there's a bit of gratitude in that, but what I've always believed is that someone's got to help the next generation, and while I'm here, and I can do that, that's what I'll do, because the most important thing is the next generation coming through, and not just, for sport, just for life generally. And they have to have, role models that they can relate with and relate to achieve that. So if I can be that in some way, then that's what I'll do. So no need for the thanks and everything, but just one day I want to be able to hear of some stories that have come out of your academy, Mark, of young people that have gone on and really pushed on with their life. And it doesn't have to be with football, it can be with anything, but really pushed on and give life a go.
Yeah, brilliant. That's why I do it as well. So yeah, great words, Lynn. Because you're obviously very tech savvy like myself. It's just a little reminder. We were talking beforehand, guys, because we want to try to save this so that people who didn't get on it can catch up and watch it on I think it's Instagram story or something like that. And me and Lynn were laughing at each other, trying to bang our heads together, work it out. So I tried to remind him, saying, when we press the end button, you have to save it apparently to the story, not discard it or something like that.
You know what? If it doesn't work, I promise I'll come on again and we can talk about something else.
Word for word, you've got to recite it. Recite word for word.
I know, yeah. No, it'll be all right. I can see the end button, so I'll definitely go press that if I see record or say to stories.
Right. Stay safe, guys. Stay in. Lynn, all the best to your family, mate. Thank you very much for coming in. See you later, guys.
Thanks for inviting me. Take care, guys.